A reading from my book, Diary of a Man Called Jesus, His Life and Missing Years, a novel. Love in a Fig. 3 weeks have gone by since I met the troubled warrior. For 5 days in a row I sat writing out my thoughts across from the golden steps, hoping the young man might return. Though he stayed away, I know love touched his heart the day we met. It touched me too, in a way I had not expected. I learned that just because I have wisdom and a message I am certain could heal every listener, only love can open a heart. When in my youthful exuberance I think every mind and heart will jump to grasp a healing balm for the soul, this vocation of teaching challenges me more than any dark alleyway teeming with criminals. Though I find great pleasure in storytelling and sharing the brilliance of my teachers, I need time to myself to reflect and replenish. This morning I left the ashram where I have been staying to escape the din of the city. The persistent aroma of incense followed me out beyond the city boundary, and as I walked further into the wilderness, I realized my robe and beard were drenched in the heady scent. I hiked in the hot sun for miles under a cloudless sky, taking in the lush green scenery, unlike that of my homeland. When I reached the foothills, I spotted a giant ashwata tree drooping with fruit. Underneath the bowed branches sat a round little man, still as a statue. I had not expected to meet anyone on my trek into the countryside, and did not wish to disturb the man. Curious though, I dared to slow my pace and direct my path closer to the stranger who sat with his legs folded in front of him. I took care to soften my steps, but when I stopped within range of the circle of ripe fruit strewn about him, he spoke, keeping his eyes closed. "You have found me out, my lord. You carry the perfume of meditation." Laughter bellowed from this stranger, and I could not help but laugh myself. As he patted the ground beside him, the tempo of the local accent made his words sound like music. "Come, let us meditate together." I sat down and mirrored his pose, unable to resist such an affable character. No more than 1 minute passed, both of us in complete silence. A bird landed in a branch above our heads. The bird chortled a happy tune, and the man came to life. "Well, that's enough of that," he said, slapping his knee. "You didn't come all this way to sit at my side, mute, all afternoon, did you now?" "I have waited so long for your visit. What did you come to teach me?" More joyful sounds rippled out of him. Laughter. How rare to find an adult so filled with joy. All in this man's vicinity glowed, reflecting his affect. I swore the birds smiled and tree branches waved in our direction. The air vibrated, charged with his jubilant countenance. Never have I felt such a rapid lift in my spirits. Laughter. I must remember this as one of the best healing tools. He admitted a confident anticipation of my visit, which did not surprise me, since I had grown used to this unusual phenomenon which occurs among accomplished masters. It is quite common for adepts to receive knowledge of the future and suggested procedures through dreams and visions. Many are also proficient at cures of mind and body. Some serve as wise counselors who resolve conflicts with the ease embodied by peaceful, joyous hearts. The higher they go in their chosen spiritual practice, the more enlightened characteristics they embody, characteristics that increase their ability to assist others with healing and insight while never forcing it. In an instant, the stranger and I understood each other, and the premise that all who cross your path have something to teach you. Like many I have met who live by prayer and meditation, this jolly man often finished my sentences. We shared one mind. My new friend spoke of everything as living spirits, sign of a kindred. We picked through the ripe figs in the grass and nibbled as we shared stories. Thank you, dear tree, for dropping lunch in our laps. He clapped his hands with glee and urged me to tell him more with each tale I shared of my long journey across deserts and plains. Such a kind, welcoming soul to take pleasure in the sagas of a young foreigner. Except for a handful of sympathetic priests and my family, at home I received more in the way of odd stares when I spoke of divine mysteries hidden in nature, an all too common reaction to those whose looks, speech, or actions diverge from local norms. On the occasion of meeting such an amenable person who seemed to see into my core, I felt thankful for those critical stares. Had I experienced greater reception in my homeland, I may never have initiated my travels. When I finished talking, after my new friend took a brief turn telling me about himself, he picked up a bruised fruit with juice oozing from one side and held it up in front of his face. As though he had read my thoughts about the bruises life presents, he uttered such wisdom. Praise to you, damaged fruit. Your life has seen many days as these perfect figs we stuff in our mouths, and in your bruised state you too serve your purpose. For your rotten flesh will transform into decay that surrounds your seeds with nourishment. My friend turned and held the fruit out in front of me. Just as the seeds that sink into the earth may one day become beautiful trees if they have rich soil, perhaps the seeds you plant, young pilgrim, will bear the best fruit of all, for communing with the earth to transform your wounds. Even within the bounds of our short friendship, this wise man knew something of my connection to the earth. For certain, someone who sits upon the earth for hours at a time knows the beneficial healing of such a practice. The man intuited that I had suffered my share of bruises along the way as well. In the time I had deepened my relationship to the earth, I already felt stronger to endure any future odd stares and condemnation from my critics at home. Planted with my seat on the ground, in the midst of such beauty, I knew myself as one with everything, not odd, not different. My friend's analogy stirred my thoughts toward the many pilgrims on this life journey, entangled in arduous trials. I thought of the boy in town and how he softened when I persisted in my wish to show him love's message. I expanded on the wise man's damaged fruit theory aloud. Perhaps the bruises of those who are plagued by hardship in the present might one day also transform their trials into nourishment for their spirits, make them stronger and resolute in courage through communion with earth's gifts. Ah, yes, my friend, no one saves us but ourselves. No one can and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path. Keep this in mind as you set out to teach people. They may expect you to produce healing for them when really all you can expect to offer them is an exchange of love's energy. You may show them how to arise from their trials, but the ultimate choice and transformation comes from within the individual. When they avoid the path of discipline where they may learn to manage their own minds, natural law takes over, often wreaking havoc on life. With perseverance, all wisdom, virtue, and enlightenment will come to them, if not in this life, in the next. Just as treasures are uncovered from the earth's endowments, like the message our clear minds glean from this damaged fruit, so virtue results from good deeds that feed others in spirit and body, and wisdom results from a pure and peaceful mind. To walk safely through the maze of human life, one needs the light of wisdom and the guidance of virtue. I stared down at the fallen figs and allowed the man's words to sink in. Maybe with time I will embody all the finer attributes, but questions arise. I do enjoy many of the disciplines I have learned that propel my body into states that feel like perfection. Still, there are times when my mind gets in the way. How do I stop it? The only way I have found to control my mind is to focus on the present moment. And who wants to be anywhere else? To dwell on the past is often to dredge up woes. To dwell in a future that has not yet occurred is pure folly. Look out upon the calm landscape and find one tree to gaze at. Feel the breeze on your cheek. Stare at a single blade of grass or flower as it jitters in whispers of gentle wind. When your thoughts interfere, make a conscious effort to return to what is happening in front of you. Repetition is key, like when you learn to walk as a babe. One foot in front of the other, day after day, month after month, and one day you realize your presence is stronger than your thoughts. This is the work of love. He made it sound so easy. I had mastered other things, and I will master the present with all the determination I can muster. His jovial manner inspired me to begin this practice at once. It never occurred to us to exchange names, our afternoon together so timeless and uncomplicated. My friend and I sat for hours gnawing on figs until our bellies bulged, and we sat in satisfied lethargy. We welcomed the interruption whenever a bird flew by and a flapping of wings or a gentle breeze quieted our rambling lips. Together we studied damselflies and ladybugs who landed on our garments and hands, their color and pattern, the tiny movements, their seed eyes that stared back at us, all a marvel. We sipped slow, deep breaths in the stifling heat. Cool air grazed over my tongue and throat until my entire body felt refreshed for seconds at a time. My eyelids weighed down by the currents of oppressive air. We were two woolly sheep, lured into laziness by the sultry day, no place to go, and nothing but the quiver of leaves and the bliss of earth's breathing to concern ourselves with. Absorbed in this heaven, one last conscious thought drifted into my mind. I wonder if this is what it feels like to be a tree. In what seemed like very few present moments later, my eyes fluttered open. I felt disoriented, as though I had awakened from a delicious dream. There in the distance stood the one tree I had gazed upon, the flower I had contemplated, and in front of me lay the scattered figs my friend and I left for any creatures who might pass by hungry. A butterfly landed and rolled out its tongue to sip juice that oozed from a bruised fruit near my foot. The sun hung low on the horizon, and I felt its heat flush my face. I turned my head, my mouth opened to thank my friend for this day, and found nothing but crushed grass left where he once sat. I stayed a while longer, left on my own to muse over our time together, a solitary human among the birds singing sweet songs in the tree branches above my head, yet never alone. Still, I heard his sweet reply to my gratitude come through my heart. I did not give you this day, my lord. You gave it to yourself.